Hey there guys, Matthew here from the Whoetics, joined by Liv and Jacob for our review of Doctor Who Series 11, Episode 5, the Tsuranga Conundrum. And before I forget, if you do want to, of course, listen to this wonderful review, on the go, just search for the Whoetics on your chosen podcast provider. Now, this episode has probably divided opinion more than any other that I can remember for a very long time. A lot of people think it was an enjoyable piece of wonderful sci-fi. A lot of people are on the fence and think it was okay, could have been better. A lot of people think it was awful. Now, unless you follow us on Twitter, you may have gathered what we thought. If you don't follow us on Twitter, you're about to find out. Who wants to release what they thought first?
I thought it was rather boring.
Yes.
Let's just save that for now.
Liv?
Crap.
Straight in there.
Yeah. It was very, very difficult to watch. It was very, very difficult, for me anyway, to stay engaged in.
Yeah.
I just found none of it remotely immersive at all.
What I
Not at all.
found weird was that the other night, because me and Matthew were just sitting down, and because there was Matthew just sort of reading me out because also the spoiler-free review. That spoiler-free review that he read sort of made the episode more exciting than it actually was. How was that possible?
I have no idea. It just the only person who for me comes out of this episode with any credit at all is Tsuranga Conundrum for his music, because I honestly think if it wasn't for his score keeping the episode ticking over, I would have fell asleep. I mean, there were moments where I just got up and went to make a drink, and then I got up and I went to the toilet, and I come down and nothing had changed, nothing had happened, the story hadn't progressed anywhere, you know. And for me, a sign that I'm not enjoying an episode is when I start going on my phone.
Yeah, same here.
And I don't know about you, but I was starting to go on my phone because I just knew nothing was happening. I knew I wasn't missing anything. So yeah, let's dig deeper into why we think this episode is, well, as boring as we say it is. Let's start with the actual plot. So,
what plot?
Exactly what plot?
Good point.
Plot. There was no plot.
So the Doctor and her companions they were on this junk planet searching for something. Whatever. They end up on an outer space hospital ship
Because they get exploded by some sonic mind thing.
Yes.
And the TARDIS goes AWOL, as normal.
It does. The TARDIS is really misbehaving so far this series. And yeah, they're on this ship that's off to some planet. It's a hospital ship. They can't get off it, and it is infiltrated by the crazy frog. That's it.
End the story.
And there's a guy who's giving birth.
Oh yeah, and there's some woman who's important and in some book, and her brother, and her android who is there as well, and two like doctor people, nurses,
yes.
whatever. Don't
Yes.
forget them.
No, I almost did. So, what did you think of? I mean, the plot itself. You know, it's base under siege. We get this very often in Doctor Who. It's not original, but it's something that I don't personally get sick of seeing. But for me, a base under siege story, you know, you need to be. It's all about being stuck in a very small, enclosed, claustrophobic place, and you're getting chased around by an extremely scary villain. You're against the clock. You feel like you're always going to be trapped. But this episode lacked any kind of intensity, any threat, any tempo. It was slow. It was flat. It was so boring. I tell you what, it felt like it was like a car that was stuck in first gear. I was sat there and I was crying for it to just get going. You know, it started off fine, and you know, your episodes always start off a bit. You know, you're waiting for things to just get going. You know, you're establishing who everyone is, whatever. But I was watching it and I was thinking, nothing's happening.
Yeah.
Just get on with something. And it was talking after talking after talking, and the most jarring thing. And I don't know if this is because Chibnall wants Doctor Who to be this accessible to people who've never seen it before, but every line, every plot point, every single piece of the story was described in such detail. It was jarring.
Yeah. I think one point that, well, I might be skipping ahead a bit, but there's this one bit where after this villain, I guess you could call it, was aboard the ship, I thought things were going to speed up a bit. You know, there's this thing that's eating the ship, possibly. You know, there could be a threat there. Maybe things are going to get a bit more exciting. And then they spend like 5 minutes describing antimatter, how the ship is being fueled, whilst there's this crazy creature on the loose. And I'm like, well, it doesn't feel like there's any sort of threat, because they don't seem to be threatened at all by the fact that this thing is eating the ship.
Yeah, I think the Doctor Who Twitter, the official Twitter, I think it quoted the Pating as the most life-threatening or the most dangerous creature in the universe. And I'm thinking, and I know, and the build-up to this creature being on the ship was good. You know, this creature infiltrates the ship. You know, we don't know what it looks like, and for quite a few minutes we had no idea, and it's building up to this moment where we discover what on earth this most dangerous creature is.
And it's that.
And it's a freaking teddy bear that eats metal. It's the crazy frog. And there's people on Twitter, and people saying it was cute. Oh, it was cute. Okay, it was cute. Yes, it was.
But is that what we want?
Was that the intention? That's like, you know, that's like saying, oh, this is this. You know, it's a fact, but is that the intention?
And obviously, it's made of it's CGI. It's not real. And I'm wondering if the cast were given a picture of this creature to react to, because the way they were reacting was like as if it was some really menacing, evil creature that was like getting closer to them, about to kill them. And they were reacting so much, and then it pans to the actual creature made of CGI, and it just doesn't look remotely threatening at all.
This is why, because also before the series began, there was Chibnall saying, because all new fresh villains and monsters take care to them, to also get the new fans hooked and because there was me. Okay, because also this is exciting, this is new, but I can say that a lot of the old villains I am missing now.
Yeah,
so after seeing cute little alien creatures. Well, to me, for a show like Doctor Who, cute little alien creatures are pathetic.
Yeah.
It is pathetic.
I saw something on Twitter saying that this episode would have been perfect for Cybermen.
Yeah.
If the Cybermen came on board and, you know, put them under some threat, I totally think that that would have been a perfect episode for Cybermen. And even if you are new to Doctor Who, everyone knows the Cybermen, even if you haven't watched it before. I don't think it would have been that bad if they used them, or even just a new villain that actually had some sort of threat about them.
Exactly, it didn't suit the story whatsoever.
I didn't know what the intention of this creature was, because first of all it was like they were saying how it relentlessly kills. And yet we saw it kill the one guy by throwing away in this space pod. I don't understand why, because apparently all it wants is energy. And I don't know what energy it got from sending a space pod away. But the intentions of this creature didn't really come through that well. I don't know if you guys thought the same, but I didn't really understand why it was there.
And I've seen people on Twitter comparing it to the Adipose and saying, well, you know, the Adipose worked in Partners in Crime, so what's wrong with a cute villain? But Partners in Crime was a series opener which was about fat. It's meant to be light-hearted, it's meant to be funny. The Adipose suited that episode. It's a base under siege story. You've got people running around like they're getting chased around by the scariest thing that they've ever seen, and then you look and you see that it's this weird creature thing. Like, how are we meant to make? How's that meant to be believable to us as viewers? What was the intention? Was the intention for us to look at that and go, "Oh, that's cute," or was the intention for us to be like, "That is the scariest thing I've ever seen"? Because they're getting the viewer's reaction and the character's reaction completely mixed up if that's the case. So, I don't understand it. I don't understand why they thought that this villain was a good idea for a Base Under Siege story.
Because I'm also noticing a problem now with this series. Like, all the villains have been so flat. We've had nothing scary or menacing about a villain this series, have we?
Yeah.
No.
I feel like in terms of villains and plot, we've kind of hit a point where it's just kind of leveling out and being flat and boring. And we keep on saying this, we're waiting for this step up, this leap, this, extra gear of excitement and something exciting, but it's just not getting there. And I'm really hoping, because the next 4 episodes are not written by Chris Chibnall, and I'm hoping that some of the other guest writers will be able to pull something out of the bag that Chibnall hasn't done, because credit to him, the characters and the companions that he writes are brilliant, but it just lacks so much on the plot side and the villain.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've put a tweet out the other day, and I was asking all the people on Twitter, when should we get to a point this series where we need to just sort of expect more? Mm-hmm. And for all the first 5 episodes, I've thought, it's brand new Doctor Who, it's a new showrunner, he wants to bring on a new audience, that's fair enough, so we have to be patient. As viewers who've been around for a long time, we have to be patient, we have to accept where he's going with this. But when do we get to a point where we just want it to just step up? And the villains especially have all just been so average.
Because I understand, so being patient, first episode, second episode, and because then the third episode, that's fine, being patient. But because here we are halfway through the series already, and here we are saying the same old thing. What was the point in the villain? What was the point?
Yeah, another villain that got away as well. I'm hoping that this is an intentional thing that they're going with.
Well, I hope so, but even if it is, I don't really see where it could go.
Yeah, I mean, do they all come back at the end as one big super squad of villains?
God.
Oh, Jesus.
I have no idea. So yeah, the villain just didn't fit the episode. Didn't engage me. I was never threatened by it. It passed me by, basically.
Right.
Yeah. What did you think of the setting then? Because obviously the Base Under Siege, it's been done many times before. Being stuck on a ship, getting chased around by this creature. What did you think about the setting? Because I thought, as nice as it looked, and it did look good, everything about this series has looked good. That's something you come to expect. The series, the CGI, everything looked great. But for me, I thought that this set being as small as it was, it was rooms and corridors, basically. I think it limited the story and the episode as to what it could do and where it could go. If they'd have done this right, then it would have maybe, if they'd have dimmed the lighting, made it darker, and they'd have actually had a scary villain, then I think the setting could have thrived. But because it was so flat and so dull, it just felt like you were stuck in this space and you just couldn't get out. Yeah. You want the episode to go somewhere, but it literally couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I get that having a slightly smaller set makes it a bit more claustrophobic, maybe, but I don't know. Like, the set design, I liked, and again, visually superb. Even the villain, as much as it was weird, it was done really well in CGI. But yeah, I don't know. It just didn't feel that intense.
Exactly, that's the word. That's the key word about this episode. It lacked intensity, and we've had that for quite often this series.
Yeah.
A lot of talking, a lot of exposition that just goes on for too long,
and just not enough action.
Yeah, not enough action. You just want the episode to pick itself up and take you somewhere, be intense, get you on the edge of your seat a little bit. It was so flat.
This episode, and it's awful saying this, but this episode for me was I wasn't feeling like Doctor Who anymore.
Someone put on Twitter that Chris Chibnall, it's like it's feeling too much like Broadchurch. Like, the balance isn't quite there between drama, characters, and sci-fi and action. You know, things are just too slow. A little bit too slow, a little bit too jarring. The characters, the character side of Chibnall's Who is absolutely incredible. It really is. But it's just the sci-fi, the action. You know, I mean, you look at the start of the Ghost Monument, them 10 minutes really made my jaw drop. But other than that, I can't think of a time where I've really been thinking, oh my goodness, what's going to happen here? I wish we could have a combination of Chibnall's characters and Moffat's action and sci-fi and writing. Basically, Russell T Davies.
Yeah.
But
pretty much, yeah.
But we've got guest writers coming, so let's see if things are paced a bit differently.
Yeah,
because that's another issue was the pacing. Let's talk about some of the characters then. Let's get the main characters out of the way first. The Doctor. Because in episodes in the past, you know, and I think back to the 11th Doctor's era as well, where episodes were subpar, but the Doctor always dragged the episode back up. Did Jodie do that to you? To a certain extent?
No,
not really. I mean, like, her acting, you can tell that she was putting her all into it, but it's just the way that she was written. It was just a bit less than average, really. I think a lot of the things, like we said earlier, were just being explained for not really any reason more than just because why not? And these explanations and all of the talking, going on and on and on, especially from the Doctor, I found myself almost falling asleep.
Yeah, I agree. You can't sort of deny how good Jodie's performance was. Like, her performance was amazing because she put absolutely everything into it. You could tell the effort, the energy that she put into this episode was great, and she was in charge. It's the script that's let her down this week because she was constantly talking, and every single thing she was describing in ridiculous amount of detail. And I'm reverting to Twitter, but I've been on Twitter a lot tonight, and someone said, I miss Doctor Who when it was quick and witty. A little bit more quick and snappy and witty. But it feels like things are getting explained so much, and that's what let 13 down in this episode, because she was over-explaining everything to a point where, as horrible as it was to say it, 13 annoyed me.
Yeah.
And it's nothing against Jodie. Yeah. It's nothing against Jodie before people take it the wrong way. Her performance, her effort in this episode was, top-notch. Can't fault her. It's the script that she was given. She was having to over-explain every single tiny detail. And it's got to the point where part of me was just saying, just please be quiet. Just shorten it down.
Just get on with it. Whatever you're doing. Sort out the crazy frog thing that's on the spaceship instead of explaining everything.
Like at the start when Astos, or whatever his name was when he was getting killed off, she was running around corridors, and there was one scene when she first saw the petting, or whatever it's called, crazy frog, and she said to the villain, she got quite angry towards it, and she was a bit like, don't you come any closer, don't you dare hurt my friends, sort of thing. And that's exactly what I wanted from her last week with the spiders. So she showed that intensity that I want to stand up to a villain. It's just a shame she was standing up to a villain that lacked any sort of threat whatsoever.
Yeah.
So unfortunately for me, the script let her down massively this week.
Definitely.
So I have a question for you guys, right? Because on Friday, I was listening to the podcast, with Adam and Gary, and
the Big Blue Box podcast. Yeah. Go watch it. Listen to it, please. And
because they were on about the Doctor, and so Adam made a really good point that this got me thinking about like previous Doctors and because of previous episodes. Has Jodie felt like the Doctor to use already? Because I'm referring back to what Adam was saying, because in previous episodes, because there you were watching the Doctor, like 10 straight away he was the Doctor, 11 straight away he was the Doctor, but to me was Jodie is having her moments, like little moments, and that's making me thinking, oh yeah, she is the Doctor, and then maybe she is, but also after this episode I'm like, well, is she? What do you think of that?
It's a difficult one.
I agree with you when you say that in moments she is, and then maybe in others she isn't. Like, for example, when she was faced with the spiders and the guy shooting them, the Doctor would normally go crazy at that point.
Yeah.
The Doctor would be furious. And I don't get that same fire yet. You know, there's great. She's felt very alien at times.
Yeah.
She has that really care side of her where she loves her companions and everything like that. And this week I thought she was much better than she was last week by just taking the lead and being the one character that I sort of glued to a little bit. But I see what they mean. Sometimes, and I don't think this is just for Jodie, I think this is just the way Doctor Who is at the moment. I just wanted to step up a gear. But I think that's just the way the scripts are at this moment in time.
But, because like I was saying, like, because also the other Doctors have like, straight away, so whatever episode it is, there's also like a crap episode, and because also an okay-ish episode, or an excellent episode, there's the Doctor, always taking control, was always having these moments, and was to say, God, yes, because there you are, and was that he's the Doctor, or she's the Doctor, but for me, this series, Jodie hasn't done that for me at all.
Yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from. I mean, personally, I do see that she is the Doctor, and she is a Doctor to me. I think when we look back to like The Woman Who Fell to Earth, I thought in that episode she was pretty consistently seen as a Doctor to me.
Yeah, I agree.
But then, especially in last week's and this week's episodes, there have been like extra things that have stood out to me that have been like, well, is that really how the Doctor should be? I don't really know. I mean, obviously, Doctor has slightly different personalities throughout the incarnations, but I do get the sense that the writing of the Doctor is somewhat lacking a bit, especially as we go deeper into the series. But I'm hoping that this is going to be a bit of a U-turn as we get some other writers in.
Yeah, I agree. I think she is the Doctor to me, but I think it's just the scripts haven't gave her the opportunity to really take off.
All I'm wanting is all I am really wanting. So is a scene, because also between her and a villain, because it's where Jodie is proper in charge, proper in control, and because also on top of that, because also getting angry at with the villains, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the scripts and the villains themselves haven't, because obviously they haven't been great. It doesn't give her that opportunity to really, I mean, you look back at other Doctors, and 10 in his first series faced the Daleks. He had his moments with the Master, the Cybermen. 11 met the Daleks in his third episode. 12 met the Daleks in his second episode. And 11 met the Weeping Angels really early on. So I think when the Doctor meets these villains and has these moments where they recognise the Doctor, they know who she is or he is, and they're like, oh my goodness. Just by a villain recognising who the Doctor is makes you believe they are the Doctor. Mm-hmm. It makes you go, oh,
Well, that's actually one thing that I picked up on today with that woman who was like, are you the Doctor?
Yeah.
And it was only for like a really brief moment, but it was like, oh, it's nice that like she's recognised, she's actually in the universe.
Yeah.
Because we're meant to get the impression that she's this well-renowned character that goes around saving the universe, and yet no one has even like heard of her. It seems a bit weird, so it was nice to actually hear someone recognise the Doctor's name. Yeah,
I agree. I think that's probably one of the reasons as well. It's just the Doctor should have this reputation. Yeah. When someone sees the Doctor, when they recognise her, when I'd love Tim Shaw to have saw the Doctor and being like, oh crap.
Yeah, same.
Or the Remnants to have saw the Doctor and went, oh my goodness. Or Krasko, he's been in Storm Cage. He's got a vortex manipulator.
Exactly.
He recognised the TARDIS, but he didn't seem to know the Doctor.
Exactly. If he'd have just had that fear in his eyes.
Yeah.
That doesn't even make sense to me, because didn't the Doctor make up the acronym TARDIS?
Yeah.
So surely he would have known. But.
Yeah, we're getting into another conversation there, but yeah, I just think that she's not had them moments where she's felt like, the people have feared her, people have recognised her, and the villains in the scripts have just been flat. So she's sort of been in third, fourth gear.
Yeah.
She hasn't quite had the opportunity to go into fifth yet. But, as we say every week, hopefully that's going to come.
It gets better, but because like I was saying, I was Jodie, I am enjoying her, but also to me, I just feel yet that she's not had that moment for me, because I'm watching it and also thinking, yes, Jodie, you are the Doctor. Yes, you are the Doctor, but that's just my personal opinion anyway.
Exactly. Three people that we've been very complimentary of throughout the whole series. Well, not the whole series. I know Yaz took a little bit of time to get going. Ryan's been consistent throughout. You know, Graham stole the show every single week.
Yeah.
This week, I thought the companions really struggled to get into the story. And if anything, out of the three, Yaz had more to do than Graham and Ryan, but she had very little to do. You know, she was fending off Crazy Frog from the antimatter thing, and I can't even remember what it was because I wasn't paying that much attention. But I remember that she was, you know, fending him off from that. But all Ryan and Graham did was help a guy give birth. That is the only thing they did in this entire episode. And I feel like their momentum, and yes, Chibnall put scenes in again about Ryan's dad, which for me felt a little bit out of place. There was nothing wrong with the scene. They just appeared.
It was so random, out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was just. I just didn't get the scene with him and Yaz just appeared out of nowhere. And obviously they tried to relate that through to when the guy gave birth at the end with you know, Ryan saying, you know, he's learnt from him not having a dad, you know, which is fine, all well and good, nice character bits, but other than that they had nothing to do.
No. Nothing.
Yeah. And then obviously Graham and Ryan then talked about Ryan's grandmother at one point as well, just because that seems to be a thing that's getting mentioned in every episode. And I know, like, the whole grief thing, and they're trying to make it clear that grief doesn't go away, but at this point, for me, it's starting to feel a bit forced when they're just like, oh, your nana would have laughed at us if she could see us now, and it just, I don't know, for me, it feels a bit forced when they mention it now. We're getting into the halfway point in the series, and they're still bringing it up, and it's, I don't know, I don't want to sound, like, insensitive, but, I don't know, it just seems like they're going on a bit. But personally as well, I think I do still think that Yaz is lacking the most.
I do, definitely agree. I do as well.
Yeah, throughout the whole series, she is.
She has lacked a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm looking forward to next week's episode when she goes back in time and meets her grandmother, because that's got to be her chance to shine. I thought that would be the case in last week's episode, being in Sheffield and everything, but it didn't really live up to my expectations.
Yeah.
And neither did this week's.
I'm hoping that's the case as well. I was just a bit let down because Graham's momentum this series has been amazing. Every episode he's been fantastic, and you know, every time he was in a scene, my attention was back.
Yeah.
And the scenes when they were mentioning, you know, little character bits, you know, that's when my attention instantly come back because I'm intrigued to see where that goes. But everything else, I just instantly zone back out of again. But unfortunately, the companions didn't have much to do, and what I'm thinking is if you'd have took Ryan, Yaz and Graham out of this episode, would it have been any different?
Probably not.
Not really.
No.
Yeah, which is a shame, and I think that might say it all. We had Sidecast this week. We had, as we said, a doctor and a nurse, some woman and a brother, and an android, and we also had a pregnant man. And I can't remember any of the names.
Can I just say that personally to me was the worst acting I have seen from a sidecast this series. Forced lines. It's like really forced lines, and
Astos was the worst.
Yeah, he was the worst in this.
Yeah.
It was diabolically bad.
Astos was. He was obviously went hunting with the Doctor for this creature. He stupidly goes into the pod. You know, of course he does.
For some reason.
And he was faced with this villain that is about to kill him. And at this point, we hadn't seen it.
No.
You know, if I was him going back, I'd have laughed at it. But you know, to us at that point, you know, we'd not seen it before. So you're thinking, oh my god, he's faced with this villain, and he just went, "The pod is shut."
Yeah.
And then he was on the radio to that nurse and he was like, yeah, and the pod's shut. I'm think I'm dead.
I'm on my way out now, so
Look after the hospital, and I'll see you later, I guess.
I believe in you, by the way. Yeah, that thing. Yeah, I believe in you. Yeah.
I wanted
Okay,
him to.
bye.
You know, if you could have put over this villain, be scared of it. Show a
Yeah.
bit of fear. Show,
Yeah.
you know, he just didn't look like he was bothered. His lines were so wooden, and
He was about to die, for God's sake.
and
That bad of acting.
the others,
Terrible acting.
you know, the others, they were okay, but I think again the script let them down. Chibnall was, every time one of them appeared, he tried to put as much into them as possible, which is, you know, fair enough. You know, he's good at that. But I was so disengaged by the episode at that point. Even when he was trying to flesh out these characters and explain little bits and pieces about who they are, where they're from, this woman was the greatest pilot here or whatever, you know, he's an engineer, whatever, I didn't care. Because I was not engaged
Neither did I.
at that
And when
point.
she died, I was like, who was that again? I don't know. Not really bothered.
I didn't realise she died, you know.
No, I didn't.
I didn't. I looked away, I looked back and she was in a body bag and I thought, oh my God.
What's happening here?
I'd missed it. I'd missed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, side characters, Jacob. Did any of them shine for you, or do you think they were? Do you think they were average? Do you think they were okay? Do you think it was the script, or was it their performances?
Considering I don't know any of their names, or really care about them at all, yeah, not really anything amazing. Like, yeah, they're okay in the episode, but it's not like, oh, I want this person to return. They were so amazing. I want that nurse who was left, whatever her name was, to come back because she's amazing. I just don't really care for them. So yeah, it wasn't the best side cast in the world. Not the worst, but didn't really leave me feeling anything for them.
Yeah, I think Astos was the worst in terms of acting.
Oh.
I don't think the
Yeah.
others' acting was too bad. I think it was the script and just the lack of, you know, how I was engaged in the episode, which made me just not care.
Can I just say, what was the bloody point of the pregnant man? What was the point in him?
He did my absolute nuts in.
Yeah.
Just another bit of complication to the story, just to mix things up. Maybe intended for comic relief, but it wasn't really that funny. I don't know.
He annoyed the hell out of me. He really did do my head in. You know, he was when he was giving birth, he was screaming. It was over the top, and
So over the top.
I didn't.
Nothing to do with the plot either.
No.
I don't really get the need for it.
The only connection was him relating to Ryan's dad and that whole subplot. But again, he was just an annoying character who
Very annoying.
Yeah.
I didn't like at all. Let's get some positives out the way. I do have some.
Okay.
What positives can I ask?
I
What
thought
positives?
the episode again looked stunning.
Yeah.
Visually,
it
was amazing.
At the very
yeah.
beginning in the junk planet, I thought that looked great.
I'm a bit sad that we didn't see more of that, if I'm honest.
Yeah, me too. I thought the ship itself, when it was flying through space, looked good. The set design was great. The direction, I think, did really well. And I can't remember who directed it now. Her name slipped my mind, but
It was Jennifer Perrott, I think.
that's the one. I've got to give special credit to her and Tsuranga Conundrum.
Oh, definitely.
Because-
The music.
Without her direction and without his music, this episode would have been absolutely lifeless. I thought Segun's score kept the episode ticking. You know, that's what gave the episode any sort of intensity. And the direction and the way some scenes were shot, and when Yaz kicked Crazy Frog, that was
I kicked it.
yeah, that was
into the
slow
corridor.
motion. You know, some shots were really nice and really well done. And I think without her directing and his score, I think this episode would have been at an absolute loss. I think
Yeah.
they kept it going at least enough for me to just somehow keep watching it. So I've got to give them both credit. So again, it looked
Definitely.
good, directed well, music was great. Everything else just sort of was just by the
It's a bit
book,
meh.
went through the motions. Did you guys see any other positives from the episode?
No.
I'd like to make some up, but I can't make up any. No, the music I loved. Everything visually, the direction, the editing, the CGI, all of that was great. Some of the characters were okay, but I feel like the balance. I think that's what the issue is the balance between the characters is a bit messy and unbalanced. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing a bit more sorted. in the future.
Yeah, I would say, and it's nothing against Chris Chibnall, but I'm excited to see a couple of guest writers coming up now.
I am now.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You know, as long as Chris can oversee it and make sure the characters are fine. You know, there's no coincidence in my eyes that the best episode of the series, Rosa, was co-written by Mallory Blackman.
Yeah.
I do want Chibnall to oversee it still because I like it to have that consistency.
I think he's a great showrunner. I think it's just the episodes when he's writing them, and he's written, or at least co-written, the first half of a series. And I go, has that ever happened in New Who where the head writer's written 5 consecutive episodes?
Not in what I can remember.
I just think it is going to be nice to have a bit of a fresh look from another writer. But yeah, there's nothing against him necessarily, but it's just nice to have something different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because all I am wanting now, so is an episode, where the villain is amazing. That is what I'm wanting and missing.
Yeah, I think out of the 5 episodes we've had, obviously The Woman Who Fell to Earth was always going to be an exciting episode, very engaging. It's the first episode of a brand new series. That and Rosa have been the 2 that have been solid.
Out, yeah.
But Ghost Monument, Arachnids in the UK and this, they've just been very flat, going through the motions, have good moments, but overall are just a little bit slow and a little bit in second gear. So I'm hoping second half of the series, you know, we've had time to get people on board now, you know, people are going to be watching, they're going to be intrigued. Let's show them what Doctor Who can really do.
Yeah.
You know, Rosa showed the full potential of Doctor Who. I don't think any of the other episodes have.
No.
You know,
Rosa. We just need a Rosa episode, but different.
Yeah, I remember someone said on Twitter, you know, the balance between getting new viewers on board, but then keeping them engaged is 2 different things. You know, it's a brand new. You know, I can see why Chibnall wants to make the show accessible, which is fine, but he does have to ramp it up at some point to keep these new viewers engaged. So,
I'm a bit concerned actually after this episode that viewing figures are gonna suffer.
we will see.
Because I think it was quite strong, and then after, like last week's episode, people might be like, "Oh yeah, that was all right. We'll give it another go. You know, watch next week's episode." But then after this week, if people aren't that dedicated, they'll be like, we can't be asked anymore."
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where we go from here. But we're halfway through the series now, so we've got 5 episodes left. Wow. So yeah, have we got anything to say before we conclude on this episode?
No.
Okay.
I'm all gone.
Who wants to start with the conclusions then? Who's ready to go? Who's got their rating? I think I've got a rating. So
Okay, you go first.
Yeah,
then.
you go first. Because
right. Well, I thought that this episode was very slow, very boring, full of nonsense exposition, too many talking scenes, too many over-explanatory scenes where they were trying to just get so much information into us at one point. It was too flat. It didn't have enough action. Without Sigourney Akinola's score and the direction, it would have been absolutely lifeless. I thought Jodie did her best in her performance, but the script let her down. The over-the-top explanation scenes, the way she was just talking and talking and talking, got on my nerves eventually. The companions had no impact in the story whatsoever. I feel like they were trying their absolute damnedest just to make this episode last 50 minutes. They could have easily done this plot in 15-20 minutes. The villain didn't fit the story at all. Based Under Siege, we've seen it done many times before. I thought the villain, yes, it looked cute. Was that the intention? I don't think so. So I don't think you can really say it's a compliment. Yeah, it let the episode down massively, and I was never scared of it. I never thought that the characters were under threat, in danger. And it's the first time this series where I've stopped, left one on my phone, and I've come out the episode. And it's the first time this series where I've taken nothing away from the episode. So yeah, the setting itself didn't help either, because I don't think it was used properly, wasn't used to its full potential. And as well as the companions, the side cast, you know, were average at best, and the acting by some wasn't very good. And the pregnant man, for instance, just annoyed the hell out of me. So I can find very few positives about this episode. It's one that I will likely forget in a hurry, one that I will not rush to when rewatching the series. It's one that I frankly don't know how it got through script editing.
No, I don't.
Yeah, so I'm going to give it a 3. out of 10, and that is for Tsuranga Conundrum's music and the direction and the fact that once again it looked good. It looked good. It sounded good. The script, the plot, the characters, the acting, not good enough for me.
Fair enough. I've got a question for you before we move on.
Yes.
I believe you tweeted that you would rather watch Hellbent than that episode. Is that still the case?
Yes.
Wow.
I did say that on Twitter. The reason
what a statement.
The reason for that is because I took nothing away from this episode whatsoever. No emotion for any character. I wasn't happy that they defeated the villain. I wasn't upset because the woman had died. I literally come out of this episode so flat and just it did nothing for me at all. And at least Hellbent gets me angry.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that's fair enough, I guess. Yeah.
I still hate Hellbent with a passion. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But in terms of actually taking something away from the episode, I took nothing away from this, and I stand by what else I said. It made In the Forest of the Night seem like an emotional roller coaster. At least we got to see Danny Pink fight a tiger.
My God.
At least the weird Peppa Pig girl annoyed me. None of these characters, there's nothing. Yeah. No, I mean,
on that note,
some of the tweets I might have overreacted a little bit, but yeah, I took nothing away from this episode. I do get caught up in the moment sometimes, but there you go.
Okay. Shall I go next?
Yeah.
Please do.
God. Where do I start? This episode was quite frankly boring. The plot was very limited. I didn't really see where it was going at any point in the episode. It just seemed to tick along with not much going on. There was lots of talking and not enough action for a Doctor Who episode, in my opinion. Again, Jodie, as much as you could tell she was doing her absolute best, I think the Doctor was just not written well enough this week. And the companions were ultimately not needed. They could have probably just stayed in the TARDIS and the episode would have still have happened as it did. Again, the side characters also not very memorable or likeable. I don't really care for any of them or was not concerned about them in any way throughout the episode. But yeah, the direction, visually, it was amazing. I liked all of the nice shots, especially in the waste planet scenes. They were really nice. CGI was superb as well. Music was incredible. Again, I keep on saying this week. I keep on saying this every week, but I can't wait until the soundtrack is out for this series. And the villain was just an abomination, and I do not want to see it ever again because I don't know if it's meant to be cute, but it's just not a cute. It's too cute to be a villain, and it didn't pose any threat whatsoever. And I'm still not sure what the hell its intentions were. So with that being said, I'm also going to give it a 3 out of 10, which is probably my lowest rating ever.
Yeah. I just give it a point for CGI, a point for acting, and acting, God no, a point for CGI, a point for directing, and a point for the music. That is it.
Yeah.
I was going to give it a 2. Honestly, I was, but I'm honestly, I think them 3 things deserve credit. I'd be giving it a 2 out of sheer frustration, which isn't fair. You've got to look at it, from a honest perspective.
For more directions.
And them 3 things were the only 3 positives I could take. Liv, you've got a very strange smirk on your face. What the hell are you going to come out with?
A 10 out of 10.
She's been fibbing us the entire time. She absolutely loved it.
I have a funny feeling that when this review goes live, I am absolutely going to get bashed in the comments.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Just for my rating, because this is my opinion of it, and because I ain't taken it's well of a way that there's also anyone else who enjoyed it, but for me, I hate episodes like this. It was dull. I was bored, and this episode for me personally again, this just didn't feel like Doctor Who for me at all. I was bored. There was no plot. The villain was stupid and pathetic. The companions were useless. Because also like we were saying, would this episode change? So if the companions weren't there, well, no, it wouldn't. Also, yeah, the Doctor was okay at times, but nothing special. Also there, she wasn't gripping me to the episode at all. Also, yeah, the setting was good, so and the music was good, but that, for me, still isn't justified for such a crap episode. I came out of that thinking that was absolutely terrible. That was terrible. So, Christ.
Oh no.
I'm rating it a 1.
Oh my.
A 1.
Bloody hell.
But
Ouch.
that's just me being honest. And because when this episode comes out on DVD, I will not be watching it. Because that for me, so it's an entertainment, enjoyment, or Doctor Who.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Hey, listen, I can see, you know, that, and I just want to put this record straight now. There's going to be people in the comments who
are bashing me.
Are bashing Liv,
I know.
probably bashing me, saying that we hate Doctor Who and all this. But listen,
We hate Jeb.
there's no such thing, you know, there's no such thing as a wrong opinion.
No, exactly.
And you know, there are people who absolutely adore this episode.
Exactly.
But then, you know, 2 weeks ago we were praising Rosa. There were people who hated Rosa.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's just that's Doctor Who brings out diverse opinions unlike any show I've ever seen. So, you know, we don't like it, but please respect our opinions. It's just what we think. And you know, we're not going to lie. We're not going to sugarcoat it. That's not what we do on the Who Addicts. You know, it's just we like to be honest. We like to give, you know, tell you guys how it is.
We're not going to pretend to really love an episode when we had faults with it.
No.
Straight to the point.
So yeah, that's our review of today's episode. I forgot the title. What was it? The something conundrum.
Tsuranga
Conundrum.
Conundrum.
I forgot the title. Dear me.
That's how forgettable it is.
Wow.
So yeah, do like this video.
Oh God.
If you enjoyed it.
Enjoy this video, not the episode.
Yeah, do subscribe to the Who Addicts for much more reviews. We're going to be reviewing every episode. Of course, I'm going to be doing my 5 talking points on this episode as well, which I can't wait for. Do comment below what you
Can
thought.
you even find 5 things to talk about?
Oh, I can, trust me. And if you want to subscribe, of course, please do so. You can subscribe to us on your chosen podcast provider, like we've said. You can follow us on all the social medias. And if you do want to donate to us on Patreon, you can. But that's it for this week. It's been a long one, so thanks for sticking around if you have. That's our review of the Tsuranga Conundrum, yeah?
Tsuranga, I don't know. Something like that.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.